The hallway was crowded, but Soo-min walked through it like a ghost. Books held tight against her chest, eyes glued to the floor, heart pounding with a quiet fear that today might be worse than yesterday. Behind her, laughter. Sharp, familiar, cruel. Oops, one of the girls said, bumping her shoulder hard enough to send her notebook to the ground. Another stepped on it, deliberately. Watch where you're going, loser. A third whispered as she passed. Still waiting for someone to save you? Soo-min knelt quickly, picking up her papers with shaking hands. The teacher had already turned the corner. No one saw. No one ever did, except one person, Kang Dae-hyun. He leaned against a stair rail nearby, hood up, expression unreadable. Everyone avoided him. Tall, tattooed, always late. Rumor was he had repeated twice, once for fighting and once because he simply refused to show up. People said he had a knife in his bag. Others said he had a record. No one said hello. Soo-min glanced up and caught him watching, just for a second. Then he turned away, earbuds back in, as if she was invisible too. It was her third month being targeted. The teacher said they would look into it. The other students avoided her, and the girls who let it, especially Kang Min-ji, the self-proclaimed queen of Class 2, never seemed to run out of new ways to make her shrink. Soo-min sat in the library during lunch that day, untouched food still in its container. Across the room, Dae-hyun sat at a far table, sketching something into his notebook, earphones in. She watched him for a long time, not because she found him handsome, but because he looked like someone who had nothing left to fear. That night, she wrote him a note. The next day, she slipped it under his locker and waited. 2 days passed. Nothing. Then, during lunch, a shadow appeared beside her table in the library. She looked up. It was him. Dae-hyun pulled out the chair across from her and dropped the note on the table. "Are you serious?" he asked, voice low. Soo-min swallowed hard. "Yes." "You want me to protect you?" She nodded. "In exchange for?" She opened her lunchbox slowly, revealing gimbap, bulgogi, and 3 neatly folded dumplings. "I'll bring lunch. Every day. And I'll do your class notes. For a month." He stared at her like she was either the bravest or dumbest person alive, then leaned forward. "One condition." She held her breath. "No questions about me. Ever." She nodded. "Deal." And just like that, the scariest boy in school became her bodyguard. The change was instant. The next time Min-ji tried to trip Soo-min in the hallway, a shadow stepped between them. Dae-hyun towered over Min-ji, arms crossed, expression cold. "You touch her again," he said, "and you'll need new shoes." And new teeth. Min-ji backed off immediately, face pale. Soo-min walked past in silence, heart racing. Behind her, Dae-hyun followed at a quiet distance. No one came near her for the rest of the day. By the end of the week, the entire school had noticed. Whispers in the hallway. "I heard he punched a senior just for looking at her. He never talks to anyone. Why her? She must have something on him." But the girls stopped mocking her. The desk stopped shaking when she sat down. And for the first time in months, Soo-min ate lunch in peace. Sometimes Dae-hyun joined her. He never ate much, just chewed gum and scribbled in his sketchbook. But his presence was enough to make her feel like she had her own personal force field. One day, after she passed him a thermos of homemade soup, he finally asked, "Why are you doing this?" "I told you, I want protection." "No, why are you actually doing this?" She hesitated, then said quietly, "Because I'm tired of being afraid." He didn't reply, just opened his sketchbook and turned it toward her. Inside, a full page of detailed tattoo designs, dragons, phoenixes, roses, names in elegant cursive. "You draw these," she whispered. He nodded. "They're beautiful." He shrugged. "No one ever sees them." "I'm glad I did." And from that day on, something shifted. He started meeting her after school, not just to escort her home, but to sit on the rooftop and sketch while she studied. Once, she brought extra string cheese and found he secretly loved it. He began smiling more, only around her. One afternoon she asked, "Why tattoos?" He didn't answer right away, then said, "Because they stay, even when people don't." She didn't ask anything else, but that sentence lived in her chest for days. Just when it started to feel easy, safe, even, everything collapsed. A video surfaced, posted anonymously, shared in secret group chats. The footage showed a younger Dae-hyun in an alley, shirt torn, fists bloodied, slamming another boy against a wall, while others shouted in the background. The caption read, "Your school bodyguard is just another thug." Within hours, the whispers returned. This time, not about her, but about him. She heard students say things like, "He's dangerous. She's probably scared to leave now. She must be next." By the end of the day, Soo-min couldn't breathe. She avoided him for 2 days. No lunches, no messages, no eye contact. When he found her in the stairwell, his expression was unreadable. "You believe it?" he asked. She looked away. "I saw the video." "That's not what I asked." She stayed silent. He stepped closer, voice low. "You wanted protection, not a story. I gave you what you asked." "I didn't know it came with violence," she whispered. He nodded once, slowly. "Now you do." And he walked away. The next day, Min-ji returned. Cruel smile, phone in hand, words sharp as ever. "You really thought a street dog could protect you forever?" Soo-min stood frozen, the hallway filled with students. Min-ji stepped closer. "What did he charge you? $10 a day? Food? Or were you giving him something else?" Gasps. Soo-min's face burned. And then a familiar voice cut through the noise. "He charged me food," Dae-hyun said. The crowd turned. He walked calmly through the hallway, eyes locked on Min-ji. "He charged me food," he repeated, "but she paid me with kindness." Silence. Dead, stunned silence. And then he added, voice steady, "I've been hit more times than I can count. I've hurt people too, but I never protected anyone until her, because no one ever made me feel like I was worth it." His eyes turned to Soo-min. "You did." The crowd didn't speak, not even Min-ji. Dae-hyun walked towards Soo-min and stopped inches away. "You paid me with food," he said, "but you saved me with kindness." And in the middle of the hallway, with everyone watching, he kissed her, soft, short, gentle, but unforgettable. When he pulled away, he whispered, "Thank you," and for the first time, Soo-min didn't feel like a ghost. She felt like someone who could be loved. The hallway stayed silent long after they walked away. No one dared to follow them, not even Min-ji. Soo-min's heart was pounding so hard she thought it would break through her ribs. Her hand brushed her lips, not because she couldn't believe what happened, but because it felt real. Too real. He kissed her, in front of everyone. No warning, no permission. And she didn't hate it. She didn't want to run away. For the first time, she didn't feel like the weak one in the story. They sat behind the school building afterward, hidden behind a brick wall where no one ever went. Dae-hyun lit a match, but didn't smoke, just watched the flame flicker for a second before letting it die. Neither of them spoke. Finally, he asked, "Are you okay?" She nodded slowly. "I think so. You didn't have to stand there. You could have walked away." "I almost did," she admitted. "But then, I didn't want to." His eyes lifted to hers. "You shouldn't be around me." "Why?" "I cause trouble. I carry like a shadow. People only see what I used to be." Soo-min looked at him for a long time, then said, "I think I used to be invisible, and people still saw what they wanted." The school buzzed the next day. Students whispered, but no one dared speak directly to her. Even Min-ji, who once ruled the hallways, kept her distance. Rumors turned from cruel to curious. She kissed him? No. He kissed her. Did she pay him for that too? It didn't matter. Because for the first time, Soo-min didn't eat lunch alone. Dae-hyun joined her at the library, like always. Except now he took off his earbuds. He showed her new sketches. This time, not just dragons or skulls, but delicate birds and blooming flowers. She pointed at one in particular, a single rose growing from a crack in pavement. "That's you," he said. She blinked. "What?" "You don't even know it," he shrugged. "But that's exactly how I see you." As days passed, the odd pair became something no one could ignore. A shy girl once used as target practice for bullies. Now, walking beside the most feared boy in school. But what no one saw were the quiet rooftop afternoons. The laughter they shared over badly packed lunches. The way she leaned in when he spoke about his older brother. The way he fell silent when she said she used to cry in the bathroom between classes. They learned to speak each other's silences. One day, she asked what happened in the video. He didn't flinch. "My brother owed money," he said. "I tried to handle it." "You fought for him?" "Yeah." She looked at him carefully. "I'm not afraid of you." "You should be." "I'm not." He looked away. "I don't know what to do with someone who believes in me." She smiled. "Start by not disappearing." But not everyone was done with them. Min-ji wasn't used to losing, especially not to someone like Soo-min. And one afternoon, when Dae-hyun was absent for a school errand, she cornered Soo-min behind the gym. "Thought you could buy a bodyguard and become someone?" Soo-min didn't answer. Min-ji sneered. "He's not staying. You know that, right? Boys like him don't stay. They break things." "I know," Soo-min said, voice quiet. Min-ji blinked. "Then why are you still standing here?" Soo-min met her eyes. "Because I'm not afraid of you anymore." Later that day, Dae-hyun found her by the gates. "You okay?" "Yeah." "Did something happen?" "Yes, but I handled it." He stared at her for a long time, then handed her a folded paper. Inside, a tattoo design. Two figures, one large, shadowed and scarred, standing slightly behind a smaller one whose face was turned to the light. It was called Protection. She touched the edge of the paper gently. "Is this us?" He nodded once. "Do you draw everyone who gives you rice and dumplings?" "No," he said softly. "Only the ones who save me." As final exams approached, the two drifted into a rhythm. Study sessions on the rooftop, quick glances in the hallway, shared snacks, shared silences. People still whispered. But now, Soo-min noticed something new. Other girls began speaking to her kindly. A junior asked her how she managed to change the way people saw her. Soo-min answered honestly. "They didn't change. I did." One day, she asked Dae-hyun if he planned to graduate. "I'm not sure," he said. "No one's waiting for me to." "I am." He looked at her sharply. She held his gaze. "I'm waiting." He said nothing for a long time, then nodded once. "I'll try." But the world never stays still for long. The school board began reviewing his status again. 3 strikes, the homeroom teacher warned. 1 more and he's out. He stopped coming to class for 2 days. Soo-min searched for him everywhere, the art room, the rooftop, even outside school. She found him sitting by the river, sketchbook on his lap, cigarette between his fingers but unlit. "I didn't do anything wrong," he said, "but I feel like I already lost." "You haven't." He didn't look at her. "You'll get tired defending me." "I already did," she said, "and I'm still here." That was when she realized it wasn't about protection anymore. Not hers. His. He had always stood in front of her. Now it was her turn. During final presentations, each student had to talk about their biggest challenge this semester. Soo-min stood before the class. Her hands trembled, but her voice did not. "I used to think silence kept me safe," she said. "But it didn't. It kept me small." The room was still. She continued. Someone once stood in front of me and made me feel brave. And because of that, I can finally stand on my own. From the back, Dae-hyun watched, eyes unreadable. Later, she found a note in her desk. You saved me first. The rest was just returning the favor. She kept that note inside her pencil case, next to his first sketch. On the final day of school, he walked her home. No hands held, no dramatic music, just two shadows moving in rhythm. When they reached her gate, he stopped. Do I still owe you anything? He asked. She turned. Only one thing. He raised an eyebrow. A promise. To do what? To keep protecting people, especially yourself. He nodded slowly. Deal. She smiled, and before turning away, she kissed his cheek. Not shy, not loud, just honest. Summer break came quickly, and for once, Soo-min wasn't dreading it. The hallways no longer felt like traps. Her desk wasn't a battleground, and every time she looked in the mirror, she no longer saw someone surviving. She saw someone growing. And Kang Dae-hyun, he was showing up to school every day, on time. It shocked the teachers, confused the students. And when one teacher asked him what changed, he simply replied, someone said I was worth the effort. Soo-min kept their agreement long after the original month ended. She still packed extra lunch, still left small sticky notes on his notebook, sometimes with reminders, test next Tuesday, sometimes with jokes, you're still scary. But now it's cute. He didn't say much in return. But one day, she opened her locker and found a drawing taped inside, a tiny cartoon version of herself holding a bento box. Across the top, in sharp handwriting, Protector level legendary. She laughed so hard she cried. One afternoon, they found an empty classroom and sat side by side, sunlight pouring into the dusty windows. She watched him sketch silently, his pencil moving with ease. What will you do after graduation? She asked. He paused. I don't know. Tattoo artist? Maybe. He hesitated. But I'd have to apply and go through an apprenticeship. Probably move to a different city. She looked down. Would you? Not yet. A pause. Then he added, not unless someone came with me. Her heart skipped. She didn't say anything, but her hand brushed his under the table, and he didn't move it away. As break went on, Soo-min visited his neighborhood for the first time. He lived in a tiny apartment above a noodle shop, shared with his uncle who worked nights. The walls were covered with sketches. No decorations. No curtains. But somehow it felt warm. He made instant ramen for them both and turned on an old fan. You really live here? She asked. Yeah. Glamorous, right? She shook her head. It feels like you. He blinked. No one's ever said that before. She pointed to the sketch of a sparrow on the wall. Not everyone needs to be a lion. He smiled almost shyly. I'm glad you came. She looked at him. I always would. But happiness, for people like them, never came without a test. 1 week before school reopened, a second video surfaced. This one more recent. A group of boys harassing a girl in front of a convenience store. And Dae-hyun stepping in, punching one of them, grabbing another by the collar, dragging the girl away safely. No context, no explanation, just fists, just aggression. It went viral in the school group chat within hours. By morning, the administration had already scheduled a disciplinary meeting. He didn't deny it. When Soo-min asked why he didn't explain, he just said, they wouldn't care. They would if you let me tell them, she said. He looked at her. You do that? She nodded. I'm not scared anymore. At the hearing, she stood before the principal, the vice principal, and 3 faculty members. Dae-hyun sat quietly beside her, face blank. She held a USB drive in her hand. This has the full CCTV footage, she said. You can see what happened before the video starts. And how did you get this? The vice principal asked. She lifted her chin. I asked the store owner. I told him the boy in the video saved me once, and I needed to save him back. Silence. They played the footage. The girl being cornered. The boys jeering. Dae-hyun stepping in not out of rage, but out of instinct. Not attacking. Defending. When it ended, the room stayed still. Then the principal said quietly, "You still broke rules, but you protected someone who needed it." Dae-hyun looked down. "Do it again," the principal said, "and we won't go easy." He nodded. They left the room together. Outside in the hallway, she finally exhaled. He turned to her. "You really fought for me. Now we're even. We were even a long time ago." On the first day of the new semester, something unbelievable happened. Kang Min-ji stopped Soo-min at the front gate. No friends beside her. Just her. "I wanted to say, I'm not sorry," Min-ji said. Soo-min raised an eyebrow. "But I was wrong. You're not weak." Soo-min nodded once. "I know," and walked past her without fear. Later that day, she and Dae-hyun sat behind the art room, legs stretched out, sun on their faces. "Think they'll ever stop talking about us?" he asked. She smiled. "Do you want them to?" He looked at her, eyes serious. "I only care about what you say." She leaned her head on his shoulder, then listened closely. "I'm listening." She whispered, "You were the first person to make me feel safe, but now I feel safe even when you're not there." He turned to look at her. "That's the best thing I've ever heard." They stayed there in quiet joy. No need for grand gestures. No need for declarations. Just presence and peace. A few weeks later, she opened her locker and found a folded slip of paper. Inside, a tiny tattoo sketch of two sparrows flying side by side. Underneath, in small handwriting, "If you're ever lost, look behind you. I'll be there." She smiled, slipped the paper into her notebook, and wrote back on a sticky note, "You don't need to follow me anymore. Just walk with me." She stuck it on his desk. When he saw it later that day, he didn't say anything, but when they passed in the hallway, he reached out and gently took her hand. She didn't flinch, didn't hide, just held it back. Spring came. The cherry blossoms fell like snow across the school courtyard, and the air smelled less like fear, more like hope. Soo-min sat beneath the tree near the back gate, the one where no one used to sit. Now it was her favorite place. In front of her was a sketchbook Dae-hyun had given her. On the inside cover he had written, "For all the stories you were too scared to tell out loud." She wrote in it every day now, not diary entries, just thoughts, sentences that had no place in conversations but still needed to be said. Sometimes she showed them to him. Sometimes he just listened. One afternoon after class, they visited his favorite tattoo studio. Not to get tattoos, but to observe. The owner, a broad-shouldered man with glasses and soft voice, greeted Dae-hyun with a half-smile. "You brought a girl? She's the reason I didn't drop out this semester." The man looked at her and nodded. "Then I owe you thanks." Soo-min blushed. "I didn't do anything." "You did enough," the man replied. "You made him stay." They watched the design session in silence. The artist worked on tracing a detailed koi fish across a client's shoulder. Soo-min was mesmerized by the precision. Afterward, Dae-hyun turned to her. "I want to do this, not just because I'm good at it, but because it feels like making pain into something permanent. Beautiful, even." She nodded. "I think that's what you do to people too," she said quietly. "You turn what hurts into something stronger." He stared at her like she just opened a door he'd never dared to touch. At school, things weren't perfect. Min-ji still carried her bitterness like a handbag. Some students still avoided Dae-hyun. Some teachers still acted like he was a problem waiting to happen. But now, Soo-min saw it all differently. Not as threats, not as obstacles, just noise, because she wasn't scared anymore. And she wasn't alone. During a school cleanup day, Their class was assigned to scrub the gym floor. Soo-min tied her hair back, rolled up her sleeves, and got to work. When she glanced over, Dae-hyun was helping too, not reluctantly, not because anyone forced him, but because she was there. A group of first years passed by the open door and whispered loudly, "Isn't that the guy from the fight video?" Another added, "Why is she with him?" Dae-hyun paused, about to stand. But Soo-min looked at him and shook her head gently, then turned to the boys. "You're right," she said calmly. "That is him. And he protected me when no one else would. Got anything else to say?" They blinked, startled, and left. Dae-hyun looked at her with a mix of pride and amusement. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to." He smiled. "You're getting brave." "No," she replied, smirking. "I'm just learning from the best." They started walking home together every day, not always talking, sometimes sharing snacks, sometimes just listening to the sounds of the city. One day she asked him, "What scares you?" He hesitated. Letting people down, trusting the wrong ones, hurting the right ones. "You haven't let me down. Yet. You won't." He looked at her with quiet eyes. "I think you were the first person to believe that." May arrived, and with it, college prep. Most of their classmates were scrambling to sign up for academies and tutoring centers. Dae-hyun wasn't. He had decided he would apply to a tattoo design apprenticeship. He'd already started the application. "I don't have grades, but I have a portfolio," he said. "And a story." She looked at him. "They'd be fools not to take you." He smiled. "You'll be the first person I tell if I get in." "I better be," she replied. One afternoon, they visited his brother's grave. Dae-hyun rarely talked about him, but this time he brought flowers and a small drawing, a phoenix with wings spread wide. "He always believed I'd turn out okay," Dae-hyun said. "I never believed him." Soo-min placed her hand over his. "I think he'd be proud of who you become." Dae-hyun didn't answer, but he squeezed her hand and didn't let go. The end-of-term school festival approached. Their class was putting on a talent show, and the art club decided to exhibit custom-designed T-shirts. Soo-min submitted one anonymously. It was a simple white shirt. On the back, a single phrase in hand-stitched red thread. "I used to be scared of shadows. Now I walk beside one who guards me." She didn't tell anyone it was hers. But on the day of the festival, Dae-hyun found it. He didn't say anything, just wore it all day. That night, as the fireworks burst over the school roof, they climbed to the top and sat side by side. She leaned against him. He rested his head on hers. She said softly, "I think I'm falling." He blinked. For what? For someone who was supposed to be temporary. He smiled. "I think I was never supposed to stay anywhere." "You're here now." "Yeah," he said, "and I'm not going anywhere." They watched the sky light up in bursts of color, and for the first time, Soo-min didn't wonder if the happiness would last. She just let it happen. The final semester of the year began with unexpected stillness. No rumors, no fights, no stares when Soo-min walked into the room. Just quiet recognition that she was no longer the girl who needed saving. And Kang Dae-hyun? He didn't walk behind her anymore. He walked beside her. Always. One Monday morning, during homeroom, the vice principal entered with a formal notice. An anonymous report had been filed about Dae-hyun. Again, a teacher asked him to step outside. And just like that, it was like everything reversed. Soo-min's stomach turned cold. Later, she found him sitting on the back steps near the gym, his expression unreadable. "What happened?" she asked, out of breath. He didn't answer, only handed her the paper. It was a printed screenshot from last year, the same fight video, the same footage that had nearly gotten him expelled before. "This again," she whispered. He nodded. "I think someone's trying to push me out before I graduate." She didn't need to guess who. Minji. Even after everything, some people couldn't stand to watch others change. But this time, Soo-min didn't hesitate. I'll talk to the principal. I don't want you to get involved. I am involved. He looked at her, jaw tense. I can handle this. She stepped closer. You don't have to anymore. Together, they requested a meeting with the principal. Soo-min brought a letter, not typed, handwritten. It told everything. The bullying, the first note, the food, the protection, the silence, the fear, the friendship, the change, and what it meant to walk into school without needing to hide behind her hair anymore. She ended the letter with a single line. Sometimes the people we fear are the ones who know best how to protect us, because they've had to protect themselves first. The principal folded the paper carefully, then said, You both graduate in 3 months. Keep doing what you've been doing, and finish strong. No punishment, no lectures, just a second chance. Outside on the school rooftop, Soo-min looked at Dae-hyun and smiled. You're going to graduate. He shook his head, overwhelmed. I never thought. I did. He looked at her, quietly. You believed in me before I believed in myself. She nodded. That's what people do when they care. On the last day of classes, everyone was busy signing yearbooks and posing for photos. Dae-hyun hated pictures. But Soo-min convinced him to take one, just one, beside the cherry blossom tree. She stood on tiptoe and kissed his cheek right as the camera clicked. The photo came out slightly blurry, but perfect. She tucked it into her sketchbook. Underneath, she wrote, First kiss of spring, last page of fear. During the graduation ceremony, Dae-hyun wore the same shirt she had stitched, the one with her words on the back. The teachers didn't comment. The principal smiled, and when Dae-hyun walked up to receive his certificate, someone in the crowd clapped first. It was Soo-min. Others followed, not because he was perfect, but because he had made it. And they finally saw what she always did. After the ceremony, students gathered in groups to take photos. Min-ji lingered on the edge, watching. For a moment, Soo-min considered ignoring her, but instead, she walked over. Min-ji looked surprised. Come to gloat? Soo-min shook her head. No, just to say that I hope you figure yourself out someday. The way I did. Min-ji laughed, bitter. Is that pity? No, Soo-min replied softly. It's hope. And she walked away, not with victory, with peace. That evening, Dae-hyun waited for her outside the school gate. She walked toward him slowly, in her graduation dress, hair pinned back, heart full. He held a box. Inside was a delicate chain bracelet. On the tag was a tiny engraving, a sparrow. For when you're scared, he said. She smiled. I'm not. I know, he whispered, but I'll still be there anyway. She looked up at him, and this time she kissed him first. No crowd, no cameras, just the two of them, and the promise that neither of them had to walk alone anymore. Later that night, she sat on her bedroom floor, sketchbook open. She drew 2 figures, one tall, one small, standing back to back. On the page, she wrote, Once, I paid someone to protect me, but in the end, we protected each other. And with that, she closed the book, not because the story was over, but because the next one was just beginning.